Good. Wonderful. We are live on Pan African Daily TV this evening with Professor Bayyinah Bello. So let me see who is joining us here. We have a very interesting conversation tonight, and we want every one of you to be a part of this wonderful conversation because it's not very usual that we have Professor here with us due to her busy schedule. So if you're joining me, please make sure you are sharing and inviting each and every one and this family to join us. And let's just have a wonderful time as we always do on the Pan African Daily. I want to thank those of you that are already watching me. I don't know from where you're watching us from. Yeah. Professor, is it possible to adjust your camera a little bit so that you position yourself a little bit in the middle? Yeah, I think that's much better. Yes. You see, I had to pick up your purple and try purple on my lips too. Had to pick up the purple and because it looks so good, so pretty. And yeah, wonderful. Greetings, Brother Ian from the Caribbean, from Antigua, the African king, changing the narratives in Antigua. We salute you. Greetings and welcome. Professor Bayyinah is in the house. Let's see how many people are jumping in to salute. Okay, now you start coming. I know you weren't expecting us because we have at least 20 minutes to start the conversation. But you know what? We just like, why must we always be so tack on time? We are people who come and go and react the way we feel according to a giving time and space. Why must we tie ourselves to all this clockwise and stuff like that? So that's why we're here already. And if you watch us, where you're watching us from, you can already join in. Today, we want to talk about, a professor wants to lecture us on the need for us to arise and grow and mature into our consciousness. Yeah. Because we actually think that's what Africa needs right now. That's what Africans need. We already know from all the multiple channels or lectures that Professor Bayyinah has been lecturing us about the consciousness of who we are, the knowledge of who we are as Africans. So now is the time where she says, I think we have to keep encouraging our people to arise more and more. There's no level where we're going to say, oh, now I know it all, and that is done. So it is something we have to continue to train ourselves because I mean it's been long, it's been long. So Professor, I'm welcoming you here today. You're
Thank you very
beautiful
much.
as usual. Yes, over to you. What is it that you're going to be talking to us today? I mean, before we even get into that, Professor Baina, how are you? Long time.
I
Long time no
am
see.
healthy. Thank you very much. We are working hard. We are taking care of ourselves. We're walking 10 to 15,000 steps a day. We do our breathing, which we're going to do before we start talking. We're going to do a little breathing exercise together. That's
Mm,
the most important thing for your body, even though your body knows how to do it automatically, but it does the minimum necessary automatically. So, for your own good health, for your protection, for your circulation, for your respiratory system, which controls everything in your body, take the time several times a day to breathe consciously. So, before we start talking, let's go ahead. Sit up straight, feet flat on the ground, hands on your lap, and we're going to breathe in through the nostrils and breathe out through the mouth. We're just going to take 3 breaths together, but we're going to take these breaths in solidarity, out we think unity. So it's not just conscious, but intentional breathing. Let's do that together. Just 3. And we count 4 in, 4 hold, 4 release. Let's go. Here we are. Okay, I'm sure you feel a little bit more relaxed, more your body is operating, more doing what it's supposed to do better. So, yes, Sister Tata invited me to join in the conversation today. And one of the themes we will be dealing with will be South Africa. So I did my homework. I'm not terribly knowledgeable about South Africa, so I did a little homework to see what's what with South Africa's elections and all of that. And it's important for us to do this. We are the guardians of this planet. So everything that happens on this planet concerns us. We are the guardians of this planet. So, did a little bit of homework and looked at who are the contenders in the election. Of course, I'm sure if you've heard me speak before, you know if I was voting, I would vote Mulema. No questions about it. But perhaps not enough people understand that we need to drastically break away from slavery and colonial procedures, drastically break away from slavery, colonial, capitalism economy if we want to be free. And that is what Mulema proposes. And a lot of what he offers, what he is suggesting, what he is proposing, what he promises will happen if his group takes over power. And that would be great. But that would be a little tiny role in the conversation. We're really talking about the situation. But important, remember, in everything we teach, we say, you must constantly think over. Turn back. Don't just go forward, 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 not remembering to think over, to look what happened in the past. And our countries, all of them, Haiti, South Africa, Mali, Burkina, no matter where you go where black people live, we have lived under a tremendous amount of injustice. All those systems of colonial systems, slavery systems, capitalism systems are based on injustice. So when we talk about changing things, we must look at where are the key places to impose justice. So justice has to be number one. So in my doing my little homework, of course, I couldn't do some Sankofa without remembering Winnie, Fred, Madi, Zela, Mandela. I have to greet my sister who was in the ancestors' realm, but I can't talk about this country and not mention Winnie Mandela, a wonderful fighter, a great warrior. So it's important for us to know what she did and how she did. So the Republic of South Africa is also the republic that exposed to the world apartheid, the most criminal, unjust system in this world. And we must be careful. When you turn back and you look at injustice, make sure you're not taking a covered up injustice for the bold, glaring injustice. They often do this to us. They tell us, yeah, freedom, or yeah, democracy, or yeah, whatever, the word. But when you look at the system that's put into place, look at the 14 West African countries. They became so called independent, but all of their fortune is in the hands of France. So France gave a so called independence tied into a very tight slavery economy. And if you own your economics, how are you going to be independent? Independent to do what? To be slaves? We have to be very always thankful for that and know that what we are is a system that is based on Ubuntu. Ubuntu, meaning I know that what matters is we. Doesn't make any difference if Bayyinah is a billionaire and everybody around her is poor. So what? Nothing has changed. No.
Yeah. Mm.
Uh-uh. So becoming a billionaire can't be an objective, but having the billions necessary. So Tata is a millionaire, Mark is a millionaire, Joe is a millionaire, and we have a club of millionaires we made from this. And we're making sure our people are forever elevating themselves. You can't do that without justice. So you have to know what justice is. Justice cannot begin today without a good sankofa of what happened the past 100 years. It's a must. Apartheid is a horrible crime. And none of the builders and maintainers of apartheid have paid any price for it. With the system of apartheid, they became wealthy, millionaires, diamond owners, etc., etc. Which one of them was sanctioned and any of this wrongly earned wealth removed from them and given to the proper those to whom it belongs? Because on this earth, the divine puts you on a particular space, and the divine puts under your feet everything that is yours. You can use everything you have to build what you want on the earth, but under your feet is divine legacy. So we must be careful. It makes no sense that all of our countries, with all this wealth under our feet, it's being taken away to other people while we, rich country, poor people. It makes no sense. We must examine this situation. We must analyze, study, put to trial the apartheid system, judge it, come with what must be done with it before we could say we're stepping up to something different. So justice is a key. Sister Tata.
Yes, Professor. I keep going on and off, or if I realize that there's some kind of complication with the internet, what I do is I kick myself out so I can get the audience to listen.
Okay. All right. So it's
Yes,
important for us.
Professor Baina, go on. Yes.
So as we look at the contenders in the South African election, we have to look who's talking about justice, who's talking about making right some of the wrongs. That's the basis upon which we can make a choice. We have to look at who is bent on carrying on the system as it has always been, giving the advantage to the ones who always had them. We must look at all that. Procedures are important. If you don't change the procedure, you cannot expect the result to be different. So we must be very, very attentive to what type of procedures. We cannot talk of justice for the few while ignoring the injustice of the many. That's what Ubuntu talks about. maybe it's time for us to take an example that is often presented when talking about Ubuntu. It is said that an anthropologist wanting to teach SOSA children uh, how to compete, that they didn't have this thing, I'm better than you, I'm faster than you, I'm this than you, and that than you. So they say, okay, we're going to have a competition. You guys are going to run. And when the first one who gets to this tree before the others, the fastest one, will get the basket of fruit. And they gave the signal, the children ran, but they held each other's hand. So the anthropologist is really annoyed, said, no, you don't understand. That's not what we want. We want you to run separately and one has to win. This went on and on. And in the end, the children said to this person, what joy would there be for me to have all these fruits for myself while my comrades and friends and family have none? Where is the joy in that? See, that's what we mean when we talk about Ubuntu. If we're going to talk about progress, it has to be for everyone. It has to start with those who have the least. It has to begin with the ones who have been suffering of lacking for the longest. That's where justice begins. Justice does not offer more to the one who already has plenty. Justice offers to the one who has none. So, when looking at any of the system that we're living under, no matter where you are, but in our countries, even more so. If I take Haiti as an example, we went to 312 years of slavery. 312 years. That's 3 centuries plus a decade and a few years. 312 years of slavery. We fought against the Spanish army, the British army, the French army, and beat all three armies in order for us to be able to declare independence. So we earned it from the strength of our own heart, mind, and body. Do you think those unjust enslavers and colonizers would leave us alone? Of course not. They have never stopped trying to bring us back into slavery, one form or the other. And one such form is when France demanded that we pay the colonizers because they are lost our free labor. We must pay, IT must pay, free IT must pay millions to them. They didn't see that colonizers should have paid us for 312 years of slavery. See, their mindset is all warped. The US did the same thing. Occupied the country, took over all the finances, stole our gold reserve, did everything, all the crimes. And then, when they were forced to stop, well, the US demanded that we pay them $6 million for things they did for us that we don't even see. That's the way an enslaver's mind functions. It always comes up with another form of slavery, another form of colonization when it talks about independence or democracy. We have to always be on our guard. So, no matter which country you are from, in the Caribbean or in Africa, or if you're living in Europe or in the United States, it makes no difference. Capitalist system is a continuation. It's born from an enslaving mind and a continuation of slavery. So, no matter where you are, you must always be looking in the system that you're under and looking at Where is the justice in that system as it stands? And if there are none, or so little, you are duty bound to take steps to create, at least in your immediate space, some degree of justice by any means necessary. That's your duty. Yes, you. It doesn't matter if you're the cleaning woman, if you're the security guard, if you're the professor, the doctor, the lawyer. You're functioning under and into an unjust system. You must figure out ways to bring in some degree of justice within your sphere. It's a must. We all have to do it if we want justice to take its place on our planet Earth. We, each individual, we are duty bound to think of it, define justice, and figure out how to give birth, how to plant justice, how to make sure there is some harvest of justice wherever you are, wherever you're functioning, within the family, within our friend circles, with wherever you are functioning. Ask yourself, is your behavior promoting justice or not? So, when we talk about justice, there are a few keywords that we must know. We already talked about Sankofa. You cannot do justice without looking back. What happened? And according to what happened, that's going to guide you at what needs to happen. But there are three words that must be defined in any law that would aspire to justice. Invaders, whenever a people invade another people's land, they commit all kinds of crimes. They steal to no limit. There is no enough in their stealing. And they do, and then they set up laws to protect themselves. So we must define and treat in our laws invaders. The second is enemy. In our laws, we must define the term enemy. Who is an enemy? What is the behavior of enemies? So that even if it is me behaving as an enemy to Dr. Tata, if she has no definition of the term enemy, she'll just say, oh, Bayyinah is mean, she's nasty. No, Bayyinah is not being just mean and nasty. Bayyinah is behaving according to the rules of enemy behavior. And she must recognize that. That's an enemy, it's not a sister. And the third word we must treat is traitors. In every family, every government, every nation, there are traitors. Traitors must be defined. We must know what a traitor looks like, what a traitor behave as. It's all about behaviors, not the appearance. It's what does a traitor behave. So that when someone is behaving a certain way, then we know in what category to put this person. And then when we go to trial, we can judge them according to what they did. Let's take an example. A head of state who signs up and even asks for foreign troops to come and invade his country. Who's that? Is that a traitor? Is that an enemy? We have to we have to have these things defined. Our uh, jurists and people of law must stand on these things and be clear and insist that these words, these definitions must be part of our laws. So we can say, okay, Mr. Paul, you did this, that, and the other in our country. That's traitor. And here's how we deal with traitors. So, Sister Tata.
Yes, Professor. Um, of course, thank you so much for awakening our consciousness on key points that we must know. And I think this lectures is very important because, um, like the situation, current situation going on in South Africa, like you said, there are things that play a lot with our memory, with the way they communicate, with even the justice system, with how they conduct elections. People, Africans, youth that are actually, waking up. As a matter of fact, I myself, Pan Africans on the continent in the world were shocked. They're shocked about the outcomes of these elections that we're already smelling. Like you said before, it's not just going on the street and dancing and doing, but what are we conscious? What is it that the young people must understand? And these are the things that you're saying. What is justice? What does freedom means to a common African? If you are not really living your life like according to how your ancestors had put you on the continent, which is the richest continent, and you are jobless on that continent, something is not right. Something is not right, not only
That's
with the
right.
system, but with you to start. Like you said,
Absolutely. Uh, we must look at these things from the inside out. We cannot take anything lightly. We know that invaders have to be liars. So, whenever they have messed into some population's history, they've turned things upside down because they have to cover a lot of their crimes. It's like recently I was talking to someone who lives in California. He was talking about how California is so beautiful, blah 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 blah. And I said, well, you know what? If I was Mexican, I would not have that view of California. Okay? I would always see California as stolen land because this is not from 1500, 1600. California was stolen in our face in the 1800s. Okay? So every time we are talking about history, we're talking about geography. As a matter of fact, I brought a map which I'm hoping that we can look at together. It's called the Peters Projection Map. Of course, there are many maps. I encourage all of you to go and look at maps around the world and see how many different people have conceived the different spaces on our earth. But Peter's map is of particular interest to me because Peter's map not only say that they've played with the numbers, they played with the sizes of the various spaces, and they have manipulated the dimensions and positions as well as the north and south. So actually, when I went to check the map to verify the shape and position of South Africa, and it made me, as of course the map that we all use is a big fat lie, starting with being upside down. So then I remembered the Peters map, and I went and looked for Peters map, and I looked at it. So then South Africa is north of Africa. And South Africa has the shape of a sort of a cap. And I said, how interesting. What would it change in the South African, this whole world? South Africa becomes kind of stupid when we're saying it that way, looking at this particular map, because it's on top, it's in the north. And we would say, what would it do to the mind of the people living on that land if they thought of themselves as being up there in the north, rather than seeing themselves as being down there in the south? Let's take a quick look at that map and see. Let me see. I'm not very good at this thing. I go here and I say present. Okay, slide. I press on. Okay, look like I'm doing. Can you see it? Uh-huh. So this Amos Peters has a map where he says actually what we have been taught as being north is south. And what is thought as being south is in fact north. And also the size, of course, all of you know they already how much they played with the size when they make you as a little child study the continents. They always start with Europe, even though the funny thing is Europe is the only continent that doesn't start with A. If we were just doing it alphabetically, it would be Africa. Let's say we keep this America business, and then it would be Asia, and Europe would be last. But then again, Europe is not a continent at all, because according to the definition of what is a continent, it's a large mass of land surrounded by water. It's neither a large mass of land nor surrounded by water. Therefore, Europe totally disqualified as a continent. Yet, all of us have learned to recite constantly and always place Europe first. What does that do to your mind, your inner self, to have learned the geography upside down? So I hope you understand the point that we're trying to make, is that every information that comes your way, question it, analyze it. Ask yourself if there isn't another way of looking at the same thing. If there isn't, if there aren't other hypotheses, because they always just give you one, but yet there is often several. And the fact that you would question anything will expand your knowledge. It will help you become more conscious of the facts around you, the, the information, the data. So I hope looking at this map triggered something for each one of you who are able to. And in a different program, we will have the opportunity to exchange, to speak about it, to see, get your reactions to seeing this map rather than what they have imposed in all the billions of books published around the world. So,
Thank you, Professor.
mhm,
Just like Brother Wayne is saying, every African should Google Peter's map and save it as a copy so you actually can read it for yourself. You understand? I mean, we don't have time. We have to go so fast as possible, even though we're learning every little bit, but we need to be so fast. So please, as you're watching us, just Google Peter's map. Okay, it is Cat Peters Lands, or I see Mama Bello just put Project Peters Map. So if you Google it, you will see
it's actually called the Peters Projection Map. Okay. For at least 30 years, I've been using this map uh, to in various situations, and it's fascinating what it does to people's minds. Yeah.
Professor,
Hmm.
I was just like saying, our brother just said in the chat that every African that is watching us should download the map. They should Google it, download it, and read it for themselves. Because now we're being so choppy about this program. But the most important thing that I'm saying that we're going to have really deep knowledge and lectures with Professor Bayyinah, probably not only on Pan African Daily as we're doing like this, holding this conversation, but some kind of really deep knowledge where we have to take our time, not rush over this process, so that we digest it. You look at the map. I also have it right here, and I'm trying to look at it. It's funny. But when I was at the university and I was doing my master's program in Germany, exactly one of my professors said this: the way each country or each land differentiates Africa is the same way they would define the map. So if you look at the different maps of Africa, if the leadership of whatever civilization wanted Africa to be big, according to their resources or whatever they wanted to be, they would define it in the same way that they would define Africa.
Right. Uh, I believe what our sister was trying to transmit is that in her school in Germany, she had learned that whatever a group of people wanted to transmit as an image of Africa, so they would use the map. If they wanted to be weak, if they wanted to be small, if they whichever way, and it's true. So it would be a good exercise, those of us who really want to grow, to go and check the various maps over the centuries, you know. But the most important for us would be to start uncovering various maps that Africans created way before slavery and colonization. Okay? When we read about Mali in the 1300s, in the 1200s, 1300s, Malians were great boat. They commended the sea. They were great at boat making. They were great at what they call compass, using the compass to go around the world. In fact, we have in 1311 Abu Bakari II, who left Mali, put his brother in his place and said to the brother, "If I don't return within a year, then you will be the king. You will be the Mansa." And he went and traveled to the Americas and visited the Olmec people, etc., etc. So he couldn't have done that if the Malians didn't have a map of the world. We need to find those maps that we had created. And that would tell us so much more about what kind of people we are, us, the people from Africa, Akebulen, from Kama. There are many names. That's another thing. Africa is just the way the Greek called the continent, and then everybody they imposed it in all the books. But the continent had thousands of languages, and in each language there was a word to say to name the continent. So we can't be enslaved into only thinking Africa. So if somebody says Akebulan, you're lost. If somebody say Kama, you don't know what they're talking about. If someone say, come on, please, we must rise up, elevate our consciousness so we can defend our people across the planet. Yes, Sister Tata. Okay, the thing is playing tricks with Sister Tata, so uh, Professor Bello has to just carry on. So we're in this together, and that's what we So I will go back on justice because that's the word that is least often mentioned in anything that we're doing. We talk about reparation, the word justice isn't there. We talk about independence, the word justice isn't there. And yet, without that word, it's very difficult to right a wrong. Okay? Look at the situation in many of our countries. Take Haiti, for example. So we were 312 years into slavery, brutal, ferocious Euro Christian slavery. Tied up in chain, beaten anytime, slaughtered, take a knife, slice the belly of a pregnant woman, and then take bet as to who will die first, the mother or the child, and let her bleed to death, crucify her, etc., etc. So we went through all this trauma for 312 years. And then 1804, we are independent. And this independent does not take into consideration all the healing that needs to be done. We went straight into competing with those who have been beating us up and being browbeat in a different way by them. And then people say, oh, look, you're 60 years doing this. You're 100 years independence. When did I have a chance to even think how to express my independence? Okay. On top of it, the enslaver, enslaver's child now comes to teach you about God. The enslaver's child write your history books. The enslaver's child telling you what the laws are. Hey,
Can you imagine?
okay? When did you have a chance to even imagine that independence that you want? No. They browbeat you, they have you running and running all the time. That's another thing. Take the time to breathe. Slow down your walk. Don't rush. If you're running all the time, you can't think properly. Stop. Take the time. Breathe and imagine what kind of family I want. How do I want my country to be? Where do I want cities? Where do I want forests? How do I make all the forest that was destroyed come back? Those are the things we need to figure out. We don't need to rush into the latest this and the latest that.
Professor, I don't even know how to interrupt because it's just your lectures are just so contaminating. Like, I don't want to be the host. I just want to be the audience and listen and tap into this knowledge. Like you say, they asking us like we celebrated independence from what? From who? Did we even know? I mean, have we even exploited anything? You see, that's the rising in consciousness. I think when every African gets to this point, to be able to ask these questions to yourself, I think the knowledge of self is just you're already there. I mean, we know already, we connected already. Nobody's gonna tell you African Americans where you come from. Nobody's gonna tell our brothers and sisters in Haiti where they come from. Nobody. I think right now for the past 4 years, either on Professor Bayyinah Bella's show or on Happy or on Pan African Daily or with lectures with Professor James Small and all these speakers, so Maponga Joshua or even Julius Malema going around trying to, fight for land and resources in South Africa, but also going around trying to catch the One Africa agenda with the other hands. That's why I want to tell South Africans, hey, calm down. Just winning an election doesn't make you an African. Chill. Because what we are going through doesn't deserve, we don't even need any recognition of somebody to give us a position, except you are not Pan African. Nobody even would give you a position to say, oh, now you You have to be this. I don't know what I'm right, Professor Baina. I mean, we are just minding our business and just doing our thing. And the things we should be paying attention to, we should not be distracted by any agenda or position in life. That's my opinion. What do you think
That's
about that, Professor?
absolutely, that's my opinion. In fact, there's a lot of nonsense going on in IT. Imagine these people offer us as a democratic, the change towards democracy. Huh? So they meet, CARICOM meets in Jamaica and decide who will be the, well, I don't know if it's seven or nine, but the numbers go keep going. Anyway, seven presidents for Haiti, a council of we had problem with one president, right? Now, to make things easy for us, we now have nine presidents. And now they've been at 2 months trying to figure out who's going to be the prime minister to the nine presidents.
Imagine.
Okay. And do you know that we actually have tons of people? I think I heard something like 200 or something plus who are applying to become vice president to the nine presidents. So it is, if it wasn't that the people are suffering so much, it would be funny. It is ridiculous. It is insane. But that's the kind of program they have for us in our various countries. It's more nonsense, more stupidity. That's one. Then, when they talk about elections, we must also know who did the program, the election program, who prepared the election application, who did it? Well, whoever does the program for the election hmm, has programmed a lot of things, including who will win. Unless something goes wrong, sometimes some things do go wrong. But generally, you have to understand that. Your computers cannot come from the colonizer. The program comes from the colonizer. You have no control over how it works. And then you say you're going to do democracy. Come on. No, it doesn't work that way. We have to think. Okay? If we are unable to do programs on computers, then let's go back to the Arawak way of democracy. One candidate has the green apple or the green orange or the green lemon, and the other one has some other fruit. And then we count how many fruits in his basket. We know exactly how many people have voted for this one or that one. But these programs coming from abroad, from colonizers and enslavers, they'll always bring us to a great deal of fighting after, often during and after the elections. Lots of fighting, lots of disagreeing. So we have to be more serious. Until we set up a serious program of our own, created by us, for us, in the best interest of the collective, not by who finances it, in the best interest of the collective. That's the way we can progress. That's the way to progress, is to work in
Absolutely.
the interest of the collective. Yes.
Thank you very much, Professor. And this attitude of us minding our business is just the same thing. Like you see today, people are, oh, they have to pay reparation for slavery. They have to pay. And I ask myself, who is talking about reparations for the Africans on the continent that has been bamboozled and stolen their history and their knowledge and their science and their spirituality? I mean, like, if we are serious and say we need reparation, I don't know, every human being should be asking themselves, who is talking about reparations?
Yes, indeed. If we are serious, we must reclaim our spirituality. The spirituality, from your spirituality, you create your philosophy, your sciences, your economy, your justice systems. If you functioning from somebody else's religion, you can't be fair to the people. Already, if I'm Catholic, she is Muslim, I'm running the show, I have something against Muslims. She's running the show, she has something against Catholics. Neither one of us are going to think about the masses of our people. And that's where we have to go. The Ubuntu way. Put the people, the collective first. Because without them, there is no I. I is an illusion.
We hear you, Professor. We hear you so much, and we're so thankful that you chose this time to come and just bless our hearts and say, hey, do not worry, South Africans. I mean, we're going to get this. It's the season of elections. This is just starting with South Africa, and we're going to be getting another one. Tomorrow, we're going to have one of the leading social justice activists. It's a young guy, very influential. Most of them are on the on the ballot boxes and checking where the fraud would come from. Like you said, before you even go to vote, you already know that they're going to steal some votes or some fraud, that they already put the systems that seemingly are pretending to take care. And at the end of the day, who they want to lead will still lead. So this young guy, I spoke to him and I said, we want to listen to South Africans. South Africans speak to the continent, because it's very important for you, South Africans, to understand your role. We talk about a continent, but we know there are big, broader continents, countries that we chopped apart. We know that, I mean, some of our villages that 20 million or 30 million people is just like a quarter in some of the countries where we are. But when we look at the history, like you talked about, Mama Winifred Mandela, and we talked about the apartheid system, is Africans are looking forward. That's why the election in South Africa, it's of like inspiration to the other countries that will be going to that. That's why we know Pan Africans they already knew who was speaking on their behalf. And like the other governments in the West Africans are looking to the rebirth and the renaissance of the ancestors to come back to leadership and correct the wrongs of the past. We see it in Burkina Faso, we see it in Mali, we see it in Niger, and all these ones that are coming up. Our mission of opening this show on the voices of South Africans speak out, and we're going to be continuing it. Tomorrow, we're going to get a speaker. On Sunday, Professor James is coming on live on it. And we want to listen to South Africans. If you are conscious of what is going on around your country, or you're just running around holding flags and just being happy, and you don't even know who is even standing for it, doesn't matter. Like you say, Professor. I mean, I could still be the traitor or the betrayer. How will I know? Every conscious African and Pan African has to know, be able. Most of them come even from within us. Whether you're my sister, I don't care. Whether you're my who, but we should be able to identify who is an enemy, who is a traitor, who is a betrayer. The symptoms are visible everywhere, but most of the time we refuse to acknowledge them. So the fact that, I'm from KwaZulu or KwaZulu Natal, I have to vote just because my candidate. We're making a very big mistake, and we keep making these mistakes all the time. Professor,
Yes, ma'am.
can
Yeah,
we really say Kenya and the Kenyan president that is voting up a military and sending a militia out there to fight their own siblings is working in the interest of Africa?
of course not. But we also understand the Boo brother is not deciding. We have to also remember that. He is under control. Listen, yes, they sent a team to Haiti, and now this team has just gone back to Kenya. The team that was supposed to prepare the territory. I'm sorry if I have to laugh about these very dramatic situations, but really, that's what happens when you're not in control of any situation. But to me, there is a bigger crime being committed about the people of Kenya. Yes, sending 1,000 troops to Haiti. Okay, 1,000, not troops, 1,000 policemen. Policemen don't have the kind of weapons these people who are called gangs have. Okay? So I'm sorry already for the brothers. But a bigger crime is being committed in Kenya. This man, who's supposed to be the president of that country, has been bought by the computer guy turned medical. He signed a contract with that Microsoft guy to inject in newborn children in Kenya a so-called identity pin or puzzle or whatever it is it's called. I don't know. Do we know what this thing is going to do to Kenyan children? Oh yeah, they'll be very good because now they don't need to carry a passport, they don't need to carry anything. Then why, if this thing is so good, why isn't it being done in the United States? Why isn't it being done in England? So obviously the poor guy, not only do other countries tell him what to do, but even any white man with plenty of money can make him do what he himself probably would not want to do. So he's a very sad thing to have at the head of.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So to me, though I am Asian, I feel the crime that they would be that he is doing by sending those policemen to Haiti is a much lesser crime than the crime
Yes.
that he's doing to Kenyan newborn babies. That we don't know what these children will look like, how this thing will affect them when they're 10, when they're 20. That's to me is a greater crime.
Thank you very much, Professor. And thank you to all of you that are watching us and in the chat. We really take the time to look at what you write and the contribution and the support and the acknowledgement you're doing. Each time Professor Bayyinah is here, I mean, of course, is the mother mind. I always say, this is the mother mind of Africa. A mother nurtures, bring together, but also corrects in a very disciplined way, not in a corny way, not just sweet tonguing everything, telling us what you need to do to be in the position that you were created to be, reminding you of the energy and the power that you have to co-create. So I think this is the stage where we're going to actually be deliberating on Pan African Daily. We need the mother mind to begin to relate, to begin to coordinate, to begin to build the children that are broken, whether they're the leaders or they are it's not about gender here. We don't mention stuff like that because it even never existed in our original ancient African culture. And even in those culture, our men, our kings will send the women in front and stand behind to back us because they knew we knew who were behind us and they knew who they were sending ahead to be the face of the battle. And so we are not going to buy that narrative because it's women who have to be on the leadership. No, we want to installed the mother mind of the continent. Professor, is it right for me to say that?
Absolutely. Listen, no matter where we go, whether we call it newt or call it anything else, out of the darkness, creation, everything was created from the womb. So obviously, the mother mind, the mother heart, actually, the heart is even more vital in the things that we have to do today, especially since the mind has so often been affected and infected by other people's belief systems.
Yes.
But the mother heart that has a global way of looking at everything. See,
Mhm.
it is from our heart that we have 13 children and we only have a spoon of rice. All the children are gonna eat. That's from the mother's heart. The mind
Yes.
might say, not enough for everybody, put it in your mouth and forget about them. The mind can easily say that. But the mother's heart will know exactly how to split that spoon of rice and put something in each mouth.
Absolutely.
We unfortunately we've been taken away from the concept of the mind as a thinking and problem solving tool. You know, in their divide and conquer mentality, you know, the mind think and the heart feels. That's not true. The heart thinks harder than and better than the mind. And that's why when we have rulers, whether they are female or male, when we have rulers who are able to think from their heart, we get better laws, better decisions, and the country, the population benefit better. So we need to develop our ability to be aware when a thought is from your mind rather than from your heart rather than your mind. Both of them are thinking. Oh, so I have the image, but not the rest of Sister Tata. So anyway, it's been a great pleasure participating in this program with you. I thank each and every one who has made comments. I'm sorry if I didn't have the skills to respond to your comments while talking, but it's been a pleasure, as usual, to participate in Pan African Daily TV. And I can't wait for when we will do a Pan African Daily TV with both of us sitting in the same room. And also, we'll take the time to greet my brother, James Small, who will be coming in a few days to the program. And I know will speak from his heart and grace you with a great deal of knowledge and wisdom. But then also, almost everyone Sister Tata pick usually does this kind of job. So thank you to all those who have been guests before me and all those who will be guests after me. Thank you to all of you who participated. Thank you, Sister Tata, for inviting me. It's been a great pleasure, and I hope you can. Let's do a little bit of sending energy so this machine will let you come and conclude your program. Well, Let's then take the time to do a little breathing exercise. Breathing is vital. Remember, conscious breathing is very important for your health and for your ability to think better. So let's do three more conscious breaths. I hope each of you took the time to do it. It's important for us to improve our body's ability to deal with oxygen properly. Many elements are being sent into our foods, into our drinks that are not conducive to wellness. By increasing your oxygen intake, you increase your possibility of wellness. Please take the time to do it. Well, we have, for those who came in late, we do a little resume or summary of what we talked about during this program. We, of course, talked about the country of South Africa, the elections in South Africa. We mentioned all that. We mentioned and greeted our Queen Mother, Winifred Mandikela Zayewa Mandela. We talked about justice, the importance of justice being key in any document of national importance. Constitutions, laws must deal with justice. We must define it for ourselves and know how to bring it about in everything that happens. In education, if the education is not a justice supported education, it's not education. The economy, justice has to be present. In agriculture, in everything that you do. You see, if we were dealing with justice in agriculture, for example, you wouldn't have a system of 100 and 250, 100,000 acres of potatoes. No land is made for that. The, there is a connectivity that plants need to have with each other. And so there is a way of planting that is beneficial to the plants and to the earth. So we have to uh, take justice in account into everything we do. We also talked about invaders. We must define those terms: invaders, enemies, traitors. These terms, each citizen must know what they mean and how they function, people who are that, so we can recognize them when we find ourselves in their presence. We talked of the word Ubuntu, we talked of Sankofa, and talked of Ubumuntu, which is the ability to develop human kindness, the ability to cultivate human kindness. So I really hope our sister can get back. Great.
Thank you very much. The thing, what I notice is, even though I'm kicked out, the lectures continue with you, and I'm able to follow you even on my iPhone, so it's just constant, like, when I'm kicked out, and it only happens when I'm saying something, so it's okay. We are fine. We enjoy the lectures. I'm following it also as a guest, like I said, listener, not just a host. So you reminded us and you brought the topics and the points that are very important, which we know. But I think, Professor Baina, we're going to start doing really that kind of deep lectures that must not be, live conversations, because now the next step would be, and that's what I notice a lot on the continent. How do I know? Because we say you have to be able to identify who a traitor, or who, a distractor, or whatever thing that actually does not give you the possibility to rise in your energy, in your Africanness, in your Ubuntu-ness, in your Pan-Africanism, in your knowledge of who you are, in your potentials, to be able to mature and grow, whatever it is, you have to identify it. Now, then I get a lot of questions, and I notice it here. How do I do that? Because just saying it that I have to be aware is a point, but how do I do that? And I think that's really when the teaching part of, like baby steps. Because what is happening on the continent from the stilling of our minds is people understand, that's why we misunderstand each other. And to be honest, the elections that we're talking about is even going to disunite people more. That I'm sure is going to make people be so confused. A lot of people are already saying, "Oh, Julius Malema is going to lose a lot of followers." Just like what is also currently going on in the Americas. I don't think it's even just only with us. We see the impeachment or whatever is going on, and people talking about, okay, the incumbent would lose followers and stuff. So all the systems have never even were made to unite people. So, but us, we're really concerned on teaching our people the little thing. The talent that is on this continent is unimaginable. When I left this continent and I moved to the diaspora, I left with the eyes and the knowledge exactly of the colonizers, what I learned, what I heard, what I thought, what I was fleeing from. This actually here. I'm putting it in my biography, and I'm very happy you're part of it, Professor Baina. And until I got to the paradise, so-called paradise, that's when I begin to understand what I left. So we can relate at every point, and to see that it's the same when I see my siblings on the continent. No matter what I struggle to tell them, it is difficult to understand in that mind, and I am really understandable. Before I could not understand them. Before, no matter what we say. That is why I'm really calling on us in the diaspora to be so patient with our siblings on the continent. The same thing. I'm calling on our siblings on the continent to be so patient with our enslaved, or those that were raped out of us, those that were hijacked, not enslaved, but were like prisoners of war. Okay? So we have to be really patient with each other and take this service step by step without creating any celebration around it, without showing off in anyhow, just being a self and just begin to digest one point after the other. One thing I want to assure us, and you, Professor, our young people, our elders, people are listening. I didn't know that we were so popular on the continent until I'm on the continent. I didn't know that people know you. I didn't know that people know Professor James Moore. I always thought, like now, we're barely not even up to 100 watching. And I always just thought, it's the same people. No, that is not. Because when after we finish the lectures, you're going to see that the subscription keeps rising. So people who could not watch us now, people really put in their data. And it's very expensive on the continent. It's not like us where we have free internet. Not free internet, we pay, but the bundle and it's fast and stuff like that. So until we begin to empathize with one another, would we understand the level at which who those that have grown, Those that know need to be so patient with those on the ground and those that are still trying to touch into baby steps. But the most important thing is something is happening. The awakening is very there. It's there. Now, how we move about it, particularly those that are given more knowledge, how they take care of those that are still babies waking up would matter a lot, Professor.
That's true. Very true. Yes, ma'am. We have to. And we will plan uh, your classes so we could take, you see something like justice, we could take an hour to deal with justice. We mentioned it, but it's a part. The terms like Sankofa, Ubuntu, it will take time to work it out and for it to become part of the person that, you know. So, yeah, we have work to do and we will do it as long as we can breathe. So I encourage you, give good deep breath to your bodies. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And drink water. Thank you so much, Professor Baina. We're going to see ourselves very soon again on Pan African Daily. It's not going to be the last. We're just starting now. And we're moving into, like you said, the heart of the mother, the heart of Mother Africa. How does it beat? Who does she feed? Who does she not feed? And thank you for touching that with us tonight. Thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Natondiwa. Natondiwa.
Well, well, power to all.
Ashe. Thank you. Thank
Nothing.
you so much, Professor.
Yes, ma'am.
Natondiwa.
Not
Natondiwa
only,
means
yeah,
I love you in the Douala language. Natondiwa.
not
Yes.
only well. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Take great care.
Thank you so much. So thank you so much. Blessings. Mhm.
Blessings.
Wonderful. So, Professor is leaving us because she has another meeting, and we've just been 1 hour into this conversation, and that's perfect. And I want to thank all of you that have struggled to stay despite the the connection, despite but you have to understand that for us, it's not about how much the screen is brighter, how much we are. We know who we are. We know how beautiful we are. We know how precious we are. We know the diamonds that are sparkling in each and every one of us. So it's not even a matter of that. Actually, why we brought this arising in consciousness is actually to open up the South Africans Decide 2024. Like I said, it was very important for us to give a backup to our siblings on this continent, to the South African people, to say we are one people. It doesn't matter how your elections are going on, what is happening, who is winning, who is going to lead. Yes, we play our role, but we should not forget one thing. After the elections, we have to go back to our work. We have to go back teaching. We have to go back mentoring. We have to go back gathering. We have to go back meeting as nothing even happened. Because we understand, like a professor was saying, a lot is going to happen after these elections. And these are the first ones that we're saying. And South African matters a lot for the Africa we want. Okay, so I think Africa should also start measuring this idea of just one Africa. We were divided. Yes, we know we are divided, chopped up since centuries. We know that that's not a story anymore. They're just some things that we're not going to be repeating here because we've gone past that. The things that we are moving forward now is as a matter of those who know. How do they give back? What patterns do they give back? How do they support the One Africa to grow? Whether it's on the continent or in the diaspora. It's not about godfathers, godmothers. It's really about the sincerity and the intentions with which we go about each other, supporting each other. Okay? How we help each other with the little knowledge that we know matters a lot. And I think from what I'm seeing on the continent, like I said, even from the time I left it and the time I came back, it is still intact. Nothing has changed. The mentality for those in the continent is the same like mine was before I relocated or before I moved unintentionally. It is the same. So, how are we going to actually rotate these experiences that we have? So, if you have an opportunity to mentor young people on the continent, don't just only mentor them with your idea of knowing everything, of being the righteous one, of correct in every position. I would plead, mentor them and listen a lot because they have a story that you never would have heard about it. And that story is the ignorance of which you are seeing, of not knowing, of them not really understanding what is happening, no matter how you are struggling to actually put the message across, to empower them, to re educate them, to learn, to teach them to learn the other way, or to see themselves as humans and valuable humans, that without them, this continent would not exist. The resources that Africa has is enormous. And I keep telling us, it is not just the mineral resources, the human capacity, the ability and the creativity of our young people is amazing. It's unbeatable. And now we begin to wonder why these young people are unintentionally, ignorantly pushed to leave the continent because somewhere somebody needs this labor that he cannot have anymore. Somebody needs this labor because his own civilization cannot produce exactly what he would want. I mean, on the continent, you can get anything you want, particularly the happiness that is free, that is untaxable, the freedom of speech, the freedom of gathering with your people, the freedom of how much time you want to spend in your enjoyment depends on you without limitations. Whether you go from Cape to Cairo, from Egypt to Cameroon, from South Africa to Djibouti, or even in the diaspora, it is the same. It's the same people, it's the same intelligence, it's the same power, it's the same knowledge, it's the same human beings, it's the same spirit that are just evolving in other presence, like in other physical presence anyway. So we are so happy and we're so grateful. I see a lot of us here now that we didn't see. I want to greet you, Stevie, Sister Stevie. It's been a while. I think we have a lot to catch up. You definitely have some stories to tell. All of us, okay? Most of us will be coming back with testimonies, to share with us. I mean, like backing up and just doing your own thing and coming back on the scene and reappearing all what you learned or what we thought we knew. So we give the little, we go back into on the field, we make our research, we make our experiences, and then we come back here. But yes, of course, Mr. Parker, we see a lot. We see a lot of them. We see a lot of them. I follow a group called the Black Knowledge. I think they're a group of Pan-Africanist African Americans, and they keep posting all these young, intelligent scholars that are having a 16-year is having a PhD, right, in neuroscience, in science, in every discipline that you can imagine, and that's how we rise and how we metamorphose. But we should be very careful how we guard them with this too much knowledge and expertise that they have. How is it going to serve themselves, their community, and their people, and humanity as a whole? I think it's time for us to nurture. So I want to thank you. Tomorrow we're going to have this young man. I already posted his flyer today with Professor Bayyinah. I hope we're going to have him. If we're not going to have him, we're going to have Professor Jumai. And Professor Jumai also, we want him to give us his impression about the elections that took place in Senegal and us, having this young leader and what should all the other countries that are coming up with elections. There's time for elections on the continent. So don't worry if we talk political topics. There's no way we can avoid it. Because that's the only way. It's like the majority just pushing in this sector. Imagine if they are conscious, if they already catch a little bit of what we're talking about, if they know who they are, to be able to identify who they even would choose as a leader. So, yes, everything needs balance. I agree, there's need to be balance, not all academic. I don't know what it is. If we go back to ancient Africa, who asked what was academics? So this is just so I just think everything is good. Everything is super perfect the way we're doing it, whether how the world now in the civilized format that we're living in identify or would relate to academics, and from how our parents that never had these PhDs but could actually run their families, their lives, their communities together, with nothing to compromise for. So it still goes back for us to still analyze and say, what is academics as a matter of fact? All right, what is that in the Bantu language? What is that in Swahili? How do I understand that? Of course, I understand that knowledge that somebody gives you. But what about the knowledge that you have to find out for yourself who you are? How much academics can you give yourself? I think those are the things and the points that, we yeah, we're catching on. And of course, like we're touring the whole world. I just said we're getting some stories. I think somebody already posted about the sentencing, or I don't know whether it's sentencing or it's impeachment or what. I mean, telling you, I don't know this big grammar right here. Okay. Of the former US President, um, Excellency Donald Trump, and it's causing a lot of confusion as well. And even on the continent, the continent is so directed. They look too much on America, they look too much on Europe. They're really so Europeanized, so westernized in their minds that they don't even know what is happening around. So when the news breaks up like that, everybody's just talking around. You see people really like, really? So it's really also possible? Is that what democracy means? Like, they're gonna jail him. So there's speculations just like everywhere and everything that is going on. So we also know the importance of, I mean, I'm coming back now to South Africa. We also understand the importance of the role that South Africa, particularly under the leadership of His Excellency Ramaphosa, did in, the way he pushed the Palestinian question in a format of like, actually going out to say Israel, hey, this thing is going so far, and they had to bring, them to the International Court of Justice. And I think that's one of the issues that have actually pushed the ANC that we're seeing to still be in the winning position. I mean, of course, they've been winning since 30 years, since the Mandela era. But South Africans are beginning to understand, and Africans worldwide are beginning to understand the role Africa can contribute to hold these systems accountable. If they are conscious, if they actually are saying, yeah, we might not be good leaders, but what about you? Show us how to lead by your example. So when we hear stories coming from America on the current elections that are going on, and then one thing that I was so curious about is like, why is the world having a certain period where elections should be going around? A certain period for elections, a certain period for soccer games, a certain period for what is the period that is really unique for us Africans? And so I want to thank you and close this show and to wish you again a happy Africa month that we're just ending today. Today is the 31st, and tomorrow I think we're going to be busting into the first. Mm? And so we're shutting down the blinds of May, and we're welcoming, June. We're welcoming June. What's June going to bring to us? We are looking so forward to it. Us on the Pan African Daily, a lot of things are going to change. Um, the spirituality is going to stay, Pan Africanism is going to stay, but we're going to upgrade. Like we always been saying, it has taken us more than 2 years to actually make the move, more than 3 years, to make the move to be on the continent. And we're so grateful. And I think you can see me now. Can you see me? Can you see my looks? Can you see the vibration? Can you see how much melanated I'm becoming? Okay, the food, the water, the mingling, the getting back into the circle is everything that is just grooming and bringing us back together. Okay, so Pan African Daily is really, really happy and grateful to all of you who has made it possible in every little way that we could be established on the continent of Africa, where actually the work is needed. I want to thank all of you so very much. Your patience is what matters a lot to me. None of you here has backed up. I mean, you are bringing a lot, yes, but none of you has backed up. You have been so patient in such a way that sometimes, even as we're walking on the ground, I used to always think like, are my people still there? Am I losing my family? Is it going to be the same when I come back? But nobody has ever changed. We were still intact. On the contrary, we have grown even more matured in a couple of months that we've not been sitting here and doing our lectures. And I want to absolutely, in us, we say, you say we clap on the continent, we clap, and wood share kola nut and palm wine. So the time is coming. We're so thankful that God is raising, our ancestors is raising Africans of good mind, of goodwill, not the rich one, the ones that believe in the liberation of the African by themselves, is actually injecting us the possibility to settle on the continent. I am very sure by the end of this month or next month, you should be able to really feel our studio, a live studio on the continent. Right now, we still connecting virtually, which is what we should do. Like we use every moment and every situation to, to connect and to share our blessings and to share our love with one another, right? Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, honestly. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Snovia. Thank you, all of you, for appreciating my beauty. Of course, all of us are just like that. We're losing a lot, thinking that we've been having. That's why I ask if you can see me now. Most often, when we hide out who we are, when our ancestors put a blind on us, not to show how beautiful. And some people would say, oh, no, oh, we're wearing this, oh, we are not African enough, and this and that. No, that was actually the period, that was actually the journey that we were brought through. And of course, to feel what others are going through, to get that experiences that we needed to be able to stand up now and be preachers of Pan Africanism and love and Ubuntu-ness. Where we would have got that? I don't know anything that we would have got that from. Dr. Tata here, giving praise, reaching out to the divine. Thank you. Thank you so much. Of course, I love it. And you're going to be seeing a lot of this. The real me, the original. I mean, of course, never was I not an original, because for me, like what Professor Bayyinah said, it's what is in the heart. This heart, this is what is in it. Ask the village people, the village girls. Okay. This thing that is here, I don't know. It is more than enough. And that's what is connecting us, the melanin. And you're going to begin to see the more bronze, the more melanated. I don't have to go sometime too white because of winter changing my pigments out there. And you could already see it. Go back to Pan African Daily when we launched it in 2020, and you look at the winter periods when we used to go live, you will see that I was a little more lighter. It's not because of the light or anything that made it like that. And you see, the more I lose my melanin, the more, because of the food, because of the weather. And do not make a mistake. It works. That is it. Okay. So I want us, and I want to encourage us to continue to stay in this Ubuntu-ness. We know it already. We feel it already. We are the most free people. I mean, like, we are the most whether you're what or what. That's why all these things of position, elections or whatever, doesn't really play a key role in our lives when you know who you are. We're just busy loving ourselves and just being happy with one another. We're busy looking at solutions for our people. We're busy using the little might that we can have. We're busy looking for those that say, yes, I believe in the process, to continue to support one another. We're busy looking and reaching out to those and giving them the opportunity to be a part, to feel what we're feeling, to enjoy the freedom of just being you, the freedom of accepting who you are, and the freedom of even understanding the might, the power that you have. And so we're just not doubting ourselves. I'm really reaching out to all of us. Now it's not about those on the continent. I was in the diaspora, we always look at those on the continent and say, oh, they're the ones that are suffering. People, honestly, I begin to see the advantages that we are losing by thinking people are suffering. I begin to see suffering in the ability for you of misunderstanding of the riches which you possess. That's how I see suffering now. That's how I see poverty on the continent. The inability for you to understand the wealth and the riches you're sitting on. The inability for you to understand your value and your contribution as a human species on this universe, in this dimension. The inability for you to just put that love upon you yourself without wanting somebody to always love you and validate you. The ability for you to really understand that whether it's be like this, like anyhow. You know, in Cameroon, people say, we have seen 99. What is one again? That's one of the most important things. Like, we have seen 99. What is one? To make it 100, it's nothing. So, this is what we are carrying, the message, the gospel of just sharing this love with one another. To say, if you understand what you have, if you only just know a little bit, if you really can understand who you are, you don't need to beg. You should never beg for bread. Like in the Bible, if you really just understand, you can never. Yes, Hika, we are back. We are back. We are back. I know how much we lose when we lose each other. I understand the pain. I understand the gains each time we don't connect. How much more we begin to sink. But this time around, no. This time around is how much we elevate, how we evolve in consciousness. There's no limit to it. There's no limit. Right now, we know who we are. We know that we can get what we want. We know that, but we still should not stop there. And the more love we inject into one of us, the more we rise. I still love Mama Maya Angelo when he said, start to forgive yourself of the things you did not know. It is okay that you didn't know, but forgive yourself. And in my biography, I wrote it there like the time I begin to understand, that was the time actually I begin to ask questions. And honestly, it has not been more than 4 years that I got to begin to understand what consciousness is, that I begin to interpret those things that used to make me annoyed. And that's why the more we rise, the more you're just so full of love. There's no hate in you because you never were created for hate. There's no space for hate in you. It can even just not be. The way you illuminate and lighten up your space, the way you recognize and appreciate one another, the way we uplift ourselves, the way we have empathy, the manner in which we have empathy for one another matters a lot. How do I feel when I understand your problem, your solution, your challenge? How do I feel? That's what the Englishman calls empathy. I mean, how do I feel? You're wearing a shoes that pains, but I can look at you and I see the pain in your face. And I say, sister, it's okay. Brother, it's okay. My elders, it's all right. But what if I wear the shoes? I don't think I just would say it's all right because I feel your pain. And this is what Pan Africanism is all about. And like we saying, even the limitation of like, no, we need reparation for enslavement or for kidnappings our people or like taking them in like prisoners of war. What about those on the continent that their education, their knowledge of who they are was just hijacked? So imagine if we want to ask for a reparation, and our consciousness is elevating us to say, who do you want to ask for and leave who? Just forget and move ahead and rise in the glory that you still have untouched. I mean, why would I be running for crumbs? Why would I be running and asking poor people for what they can't even give when they steal all my riches away from me? Isn't it enough to just say, okay, I forgive you. I know you were hungry. I know you didn't have. I mean, I was given everything. I'm the child that was given everything because I'm the mother. I was given the precious diamonds. I was given the land space. I was given love. I was given everything, happiness. I was given the mountains, the hills, the natural plants and energy. I was given the sun that could protect me from everything. So, what do I need to bother when I have enough in stock and running behind to cry for crumbs? And to take even from those that don't have, no, please, Africa, you still even have enough to give and give and give. You should continue giving and never stop giving because none of us is running into poverty. The only thing that we run into poverty is our minds. It's the mind that keeps telling you you're poor. I look around me, I see only wealth because one single African is putting us on the continent. He's not rich, doesn't even have anything, but double work to say Pan African Daily. I've been watching you. You change a lot of lives. You deserve to be where you are. Each and every one of us has done just that. In our community, in our families, in our homes. We have settled disputes with neighbors. We have not looked at others and look at them and see color. No, we have just seen the love as a human being. What more else do we need? And this is what we should be preaching. Even if we bring circumstances, we bring events, but our business is just busy elevating one another. We said it in 2021 conversation. Our business as Africans in this dimension that you transit and reincarnate is just to rise up and rise and take along each and every family of of humanity with us. Marshall, you will have to watch over this show to understand what is going on. I don't think we're almost closing now. You just come in late after a meeting. I don't know what. I just jump into the house like, what is happening here? Where's my own food? Oh, why is the meeting ending? Come on, Marshall. You would have to go back and ask what happened very quietly. Okay. So we welcome you. We welcome you, Marshall. I know where you were doing some plannings out there. Marshall, did you just realize that Stevie is back here with us and the family is intact? Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. So many, so many, so many bountiful blessings on ending ones. Each and everyone could tell a story. Each and everyone could tell a story. Each and everyone could relate. I remember the first day Synovia called me on the phone and I picked the phone. It's like, I want to talk to Dr. Tata. I said, I'm speaking. And she was shouting like, is it you? Oh, Dr. Tata, is it you? Am I really talking to you? I said, yes, of course, sister. And we were just screaming like, it's the same thing the day I met Cheryl. Oh my God. You could see the squeeze. Like we should never leave each other again. That is what happens. Whether we see each other physically or not, whether we meet physically or not, That is what connects us. That is what happened. And that's the mission we are all given. And that's the mission I'm giving when I'm called to speak, like at the conference of Detroit. My ancestors just download what we need to hear. I know a lot of people that are trying to remodel Pan African Daily. And I know we're going to be having, you know, daily life experience programs. People, let's not back up on that. We're really going to have daily life programs. It means we're going to have programs that in our ignorance and that we're moving with it, but we're going to have a space of all these programs will be run on the deeper space of love and nothing but love for humanity and our ubuntu. Okay, so never worry if some of our programs is going to be soccer games. Yeah, we do. We are entertainers, not just entertain creators. We all created all the games now, Olympics today, FIFA, what, everything. You know, if it be that we're gonna have a band in the studio, oh my God. But let me teach you one word that you before you leave from here. I already taught Professor Bayyinah, and she was so happy about it, and she was telling me in the Douala language of the people of Douala in Cameroon, when they say "I love you," you're going to hear in most of their music because when we start our studio, we're going to be bringing live bands on the studio and you know to talk about the history of who we are as well. And these people, the Douala people, are siblings. When they say "I love you," they say "Natondiwa." Natondiwa. I'm gonna type it here. I'm telling you, I just learned that, and I was like, okay. I used to dance to makosa, and um, and I really was loving it, but I never knew this word Natondiwa. I'm very sure I didn't. Wait, I think there's an N before the T. Natondi. No, Natondiwa. Good. That's a Bantu word to say I love you. I'm saying it because I already know a lot of you that will be visiting us on the continent. So whether we'll be in Cameroon or we'll be in South Africa or we'll be in Burkina Faso, you know, we're going to be learning I love you in all the languages. Okay? Yeah, before we go to Nakopenda. You know that. Nakopenda. Right? When we're in Swahili, we say Nakopenda. So I love you. So in the Douala language, which is the language that um, actually defines the music tone of the Douala people, they say Natondiwa. No, you're saying Natodiwa, Marshall, and I said Natondi. You omitted an A. You can even Google it. And so how do we say I love you in Douala? The Cameroon people of Douala, and you can see the word there. So we're going to be learning I love you in all the Bantu languages that we all know, not just the Bantu languages, but in all the African languages. That's the first words that we should know. And when we know the words, we're going to be telling them to us children, I love you. I love you is the magic word. Okay. Wow. Okay. Komisa, is that for me? I don't know. Okay, so we have a couple of minutes to go, and I just want to give out a shout out to most of our celebrants. There are a lot of people that have been celebrating birthday with us in the month of the African Liberation, May month, right? And we've been posting a lot of them. We've been shouting at a lot of them. One of them is one of our big sponsor called Kwame Stevens Nkrumah, and we wish you a happy birthday, a happy May birthday to all the Geminis. I don't know about that, but that's what I heard. And we also wish a happy birthday to one of our biggest followers and supporters and sharers, our top fans, is called Da Vinci Fele. He's a very staunch member. He's a South African. But of course, I don't know who is celebrating birthdays or celebrating weddings or celebrating a remarrying, celebrating baptism, celebration, a new rebirth into consciousness, whatever you are celebrating, we want to wish you a happy celebration this month and the months to come. And remember, like I said, we have a special birthday card designed purposely to celebrate one another. You already saw it. I've been posting it a lot since 2020. Okay. So just one last feedback from our man, Patrick Kasserim. You know Patrick Kasserim, whether you know him by seeing him as a correspondent or you know him as one of the major, how can I say, so the God, the person that the ancestors had sent, this young youth from Kenya, Patrick Kasserim is writing, I mean, he's undergoing a training course that we all registered him into it. And he's doing a lot of programming and upgrading all the latest technology that we need to operate a Pan African Daily from another level. And so Patrick is just going through his examinations right now. He actually wrote the final one in the last series yesterday, and we just wish Patrick all the best. I mean, throughout all the examinations that he's been taking, he's been beating everyone. It's a virtual online scholarship program that we got in the US for him, and he's doing so well. He's the best. Every note is always taking it on point. And we're so proud on the Pan African Daily that we're empowering and taking each of our people to another level, one at a time. We thought that we could do it collectively, taking young people, but we're doing it at our pace, our means, and how we could do it. And each one of them is evolving in their own sector. So we're so proud of that. And yes, and we're happy about that. 20 more minutes. Marshall, I know I'm not going to leave you without actually being on time, okay? 20 more minutes because you see it's 8 more minutes. Anyway, whatever it is, I'm here, Marshall, and I'll be here tomorrow. Okay, so, oh my God. Let me connect my my computer before it leaves us out. So Marshall also is here, and Marshall is also one of the mentors on the young executives, as we know, and also a leading voice in our people in St. Martin's. Marshall is the one that would always wake me up at any time, and if I happen to not be appearing on the show, he would always be bothering me. Dr. Tata, what is happening now? What am I supposed to know now? And yes, so we actually are grateful to have you, Marshall. You've been so loyal, and I see the way you evolve. And you were like, yes, if we will have a down studio where musicians can play, I'm a big bassist. I know I play bass guitar and I compose songs. So we're actually getting into that space of beginning to savor, to devour, to enjoy our Africanness and our gift that we brought here. Remember we had promised ourselves being at war doesn't mean that we are going to miss the gift that we came to enjoy. So we have to celebrate our lives. We have to celebrate love. And so much, we have to love so much. I've been saying it, I keep saying it because those are the words. And if we are fighting a war, it's a war to love more. We know that. It's a war to everything that was taken out of you in terms of, your feelings or how you feel for one another. We're bringing it back to that sector. Those of you that are looking to get engaged with partners, to build new relationships, those that are looking to young people or even elders, and mostly elders, what am I talking about? Whatever level you find yourself, we're going to be introducing what we've been looking for so long. I love a series connecting one another who wants to get married, who needs counseling, who is going through young mothers and young fathers or young lovers, and who are the ones that have actually even gone away out of and they've been divorced and they've been long alone and single. Who are just no, we have to merge all these particles together. Hmm. Yeah, the Ubuntu babies have to be produced right now. The conscious ones have to be. You cannot carry the knowledge of essence that you already know now of who you are on a elevation and just go with it. So we need, more recreation, because that's who we are. We are of the earth. That's what they call us. They call Mother Africa Mother Earth, reproducing all the time, giving rebirth, and it's in the physical and in the spiritual. So we want to encourage our young people that are going through a lot of challenges, also elders, you know, that if you're looking for love, you're just gonna get it. So we cannot wait to get all these programs running for people to share their concerns with one another in a very peaceful way, in a family way, in a responsible way, in a respectful way, without us going through all this kind of world standard of I need a husband, I need a wife here, I need this here, or I need to go and see whether I'm a barren woman and this and that. Those are not topics that our ancestors or our great grand ancestors ever discussed about them. They just figure out what was happening. And the more conscious we are, the more we're going to break down the strongholds that are upholding us from uniting. You know it. And I think that's the thing that most Christians understand, and they understand the love that conquers everything. So now, if we would not use the word, the love that will conquer everything, so we're going to use the Ubuntu-ness that has to conquer the love of the African back. You see, it makes a lot of difference. If I would just say, we are talking about, love, we already so bamboozled with these English words that we don't know. We're going back into the Ubuntu, into the rebirth of Ubuntu-ness and our conscious way of loving one another, being there for one another, without having to lack, without having to regret. We just loving and just sharing. Ubuntu. I think another word that I have to find. Like I already taught you the one, natondiwa. Natondiwa. If we go to most music, at most Makosa music, Makosa is the music of this Douala people that is actually the urban sounds here. All of you will be dancing to it. You visit me in Cameroon, show you around here. And we go to other countries, we discover which kind of music is rocking those people there. But Cameroon is that kind of a small, they call Cameroon now a continent. Cameroon is actually a continent because we have nearly all the ethnies of every African country in Cameroon, a continent. Okay, thank you, people. It's 2 minutes. I have to save my energy. I have to save my too much love that we have to continue to give you on this show. I cannot give you in just one time now. I cannot give you all. Yeah, so we have to laugh a lot, joke a lot, play a lot with one another. And of course, but we know when to get serious. We know when we're not going to let traitors and betrayers and our enemies. Now we know how we're going to. Yeah, Ubuntu. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, I don't know. I'm just agitating. I don't know why. I love you too. I love you, Snovia. I don't know how I can just be no. I cannot just be like, okay, on this news today. 12, 12. The 12, 12. The 12, 12 nation. God bless you too, Vale. God bless you so much. Yes, God bless you too. And yeah, if we can bless each other every second, every minute like this, our lives will never be in vain for our people and even for ourselves. And we will never live in want or lack. We will never have a poverty mentality. Being given the richest continent on the world, just ask, how can I do it? How can I identify the enemy within me? How can I identify the traitor within me? How can I identify the betrayal within me? Am I betraying myself enough? Am I loving myself enough? Am I so content and fulfilled in the little that is the many if I know who I am? So I want to thank you so much. We're just on time, Marshall, and we even started this program early enough, 30 minutes earlier. Okay. So I want to thank you guys. We are going to see ourselves tomorrow. Whoever is going to be the guest doesn't matter. We're going to be guessing ourselves here, but we get to have a guest. And thank you. Somebody is saying, Chiono is saying I should bring Maponga. Yes, Maponga actually is on the line, but he's so busy in Uganda. You see, they went there for the One Africa movement to launch it. That's also going to be one thing that he's going to be telling us. And if you're following him on Farmers of Thought page, you can already see that they were doing demonstration. They even had to, go on the street with their, One Africa flag, and Maponga was the one that was invited to actually cut the ribbon of I think it's in Uganda. If I'm not making a mistake, I don't just want to say something I'm not quite sure, but from what he called and told me, he was in Uganda on that mission. So he should be rounding up anytime soon, and we will be getting him, okay, live on the show, just like every other one. Okay. We're going to be touching base with the new speakers or lecturers or people just to share a beautiful time and the experience with us. Natondiwa. Natondiwa, Marshall. Natondiwa. Wa, the W-A, not just Natondi. Natondi means I love, but wa means you. So thank you, people. Natondiwa, we see ourselves tomorrow, okay? Let me see if we're going to have a jingle. Dr. Tony Jaja, thank you for really recalling that, Marshall. He is doing very well. And he's the ambassador for peace. He's our peace ambassador and correspondent on Pan African Daily. Do not worry, no matter how hard, sometimes we speak this thing.